In this edition, we would focus on promoting innovation. Now, India has been ranked among the top 50 nations under the World Intellectual Property Organization's Global Innovation Index. So, our innovation ranking was previously 52 and now we have moved up to 48. So, definitely there has been an increase in the innovation being done in the country. In terms of biotech industry and information technology industries, India is the fastest growing economy in the world with more than $180 billion services which are related to these two segments. If we talk about historically, India was known for various discoveries, be it binary digits, be it idea of zero, be it the concept of plastic surgery, cataract surgery, wood steel. All those concepts started from India. So we have been a center, a civilization for development through the ancient universities in the various fields like geometry, algebra, warfare, space sciences, physics, chemistry and botany. Now coming on to the multinationals in India, some of the common multinationals we hear about are Samsung, Bosch, Microsoft, Cisco with their headquarters in India. India among the world is the youngest country where 64% of the population lies in the working age group. With more than 1.35 billion population, we have nearly 2 million students, 10,000 engineering establishments and more than 150 million youth. So definitely a lot of effort can go into innovation if properly driven. Now, what are the changing trends and the challenges? So first is the futuristic technologies, the idea of digitization and democratization of information systems and specialized manpower required for the same. And to maintain the success, what we require is having a flexible adaptive mindset with digital savvy methods and better strategic partnership. Now in India, we have been focusing on various missions. Some of those to quote are the Atal Innovation Mission. Atal Innovation Mission was a program started by the government of India to promote the idea of innovation and entrepreneurship through various new programs and opportunities across India. Under this, we had Atal Tinkering Labs for class 6 to 12 and these have been established nationwide with more than 7,000 plus Atal Tinkering Labs that have been established and more than 2.5 million students have access to it. Around 112 aspirational districts of the 115 aspirational districts have Atal Tinkering Labs. Also, we now have the first of its kind artificial intelligence do-it-yourself learning module which has started in partnership with NASSCOM. Numerous Nobel winners like you have the delegates from Nobel Peace Committee who have been interacting with the students through the ATL labs. Also, through the CIRUS program, the Atal Innovation Mission has been collaborating students from India and Russia and promoting a co-innovation and cultural bond. We have started with Atal Incubation Centers at AICs at various universities and they are on a partnership driven model where technologies mainly are for the unreserved, under-reserved tier 1, tier 3, tier 2 cities and even the tribal and the hilly areas. Atal New India Challenges, simulating products and service innovation is another important services that we have started with. And then we have Defense IDX, which is Innovation for Defense Excellence, which is another program in collaboration with Atal Innovation Mission. Similarly, we have the ARISE program, which is the Applied Research and Innovation for Small Entrepreneurship, and this has come in partnership with 5 organizations. Those are ISRO, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Ministry of Food Processing Industry and Ministry of Health. India as of now is home to more than 3,500 startups and 250 incubators. 22% of our population is still below poverty line, 44% engaged in agricultural sector, and therefore we have a huge segment of innovation that can be brought into agricultural sector. We have only 13% of women entrepreneurs in India. Coming on to the whole of the world population, we say 17% of the world population resides in India and more than 37 unicorns from across the world have come to India. India is known for its jugaad or frugal innovation, and that is the grassroots level innovations which is being done at at the local and the grassroots level knowledge without any formal connection to any institution, and these have substantially helped develop villagers and the rural areas on a significant basis. The National Innovation Foundation covers a database of more than 3 lakh technological ideas and innovation, and has filed more than 1,180 patents, and has also successfully commercialized various products in 6 different continents. We also are now working with incubation innovation training centers in collaboration with Tata Technologies. The MITI, which is the Ministry of Information, Electronics and Information Technology, has come up with incubation centers, development of entrepreneurships, excellence in Internet of Things, fintech technology, and we are also focusing on Nidhi program, which is National Initiative for Developing and Harnessing Innovation. Now this is where innovators are provided with the proof of the concept, and once they have that, they are given certain grants to work on their own innovative ideas. We have more than 7,000 R&D institutes in India, and 20% of these are located in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat. Now you can decide if you are looking for a R&D future. The next is development in women empowerment. Now women empowerment, if we focus on Mahatma Gandhi's view, his book on Indian women was the Constructive Program, and he focused how the revolution came in. So the first wave was focusing on 2 aspects. First was the equal rights for all citizens, and the next was universal adult franchise, that was the ability to cast vote. However, later on, various social barriers like dowry, sati pratha, widow remarriage came into existence, and these were the areas where movements started to strengthen. And later on, second wave of women movement started, where it was believed to bring in more autonomy and equality by reducing domestic abuse and political marginalization. At present, 15 of the union territories and states have 50% of the female elected representatives. However, the national average is 44%. If we focus on some of the ministers, we have the list of the ministers, the female cabinet ministers who were there. Now globally, around the world, we have 25% female parliamentarians. Rwanda, Cuba, United Arab Emirates are the nations which have more than 50%. But in contrast to that, in India, in Lok Sabha, it is around 14%. In Rajya Sabha, it's only 11%. And at the state legislative assemblies, we have only 5% reservation, or 5% elected women who are part of it, not the reservation. So if we contrast the percentage or the proportion of women representation globally, which is 25%, in contrast to that in India, these figures are significantly low. In terms of female life expectancy, we have increased from 40 years in 1960 to 70 years in 2019. Maternal mortality rate has declined from 2000 to 145 in a period of around 80 years. The next is Poshan Abhiyan, or the nutrition mission. It talks about convergence of better service delivery, use of technology for monitoring the systems, intensified health, and the first 1,000 days of the child's life, which are critical for development, and the best nutrition to be provided during that time, and make this nutrition mission a Jan Andolan. The next some important schemes are Janni Suraksha Yojana. Then we have the Lakshya, which focuses on improvement in the labor room quality. Then we have Pradhan Mantri Matru Bandhan Yojana, which talks about cash compensation to mothers for the recovery time. Right of child for free and compulsory education up to the age of 14. Then focusing on female literacy, which was only 7% before independence in 1941, which increased to 65% by 2011. So a significant jump has been seen there. Similarly, sanitation programs have been seen, and All India Gender Parity Index value is at 1, where we have higher education parity between males and the females in the age group of 18 to 23 years, and states have been performing better like Kerala, Punjab, Goa, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, Meghalaya and Delhi are the states which are doing good. We have been laying down our policies under the National Education Policy and the revised policies as of recent, which we have discussed separately. If we focus on PhD programs, only 31% of the students are doing PhD in engineering are women. 43% PhD scholars in medical stream are women. Pre-independence, prior to independence, we have seen various legislations which have been brought into account for the marriage age. For example, the minimum marriage age to be 14 years for girls, the Hindu right movements in 1937 which focused on allowing widows to inherit property from the husband. Also, there have been numerous acts like MRTP Act, Special Marriage Act, Guardianship Act, Maternity Benefit, and so on. The next is labor force participation. If we focus on the ILO's data, labor force participation was at peak at 32% in 2005, which declined to only 21%. The global average is around 47% for female labor employment. Now, this female labor force participation has significantly been low in India. However, when it comes to male workforce participation, India has higher than world's average. World's average is stand at around 74. India has 76. Manrega requires minimum 33% of female workforce, where we have 57% of female workforce. Stand Up India scheme has provided loans between 10 lakh to 1 crore for various schemes. A 24-hour women helpline service has been established for women affected by violence. And then we have been increasing the female enrollment rate for the lifetime skill development programs under Kaushal Vikas Yojana. The next is a healthy lifestyle. Now, when we focus on healthy lifestyle, when SARS was first identified in December 2019 by WHO, it was declared as pandemic just 3 months later in March 2020. And all forms of malnutrition, it can be undernutrition, micronutritional deficiencies, or overnutrition, have been harmful. With the closure of the school, online classes, obesity and reduced physical activities has come into play. Now, when we focus on the components of healthy lifestyle, what are they? First is diet related parameter, the second is good physical activity, the third is mental well-being, fourth is adequate sleep, and the last is restricted intake of alcohol. If we focus on fried food, we have seen that these have significant adverse effect on health. With higher temperatures which is used for frying and the number of frying cycles, the viscosity, color and the trans fat generated increases. Now, this affects the health and the cardiac issues. Now, the next is cold pressed or the kachi ghani oil. Now, it's believed that cold press or kachi ghani oil is usually better for frying because it has higher smoking point of more than 200 degrees Celsius, which is better suited with the temperature cycles, and there should not be more than one repeat. There should be just one frying cycle, not more than one frying cycle that should be done. And then as soon as the oil, the remaining oil should be drained and then immediately stored either in refrigerator or freezer to be used for cooking purpose, not for frying again. Ayurveda in India focuses on 4 pillars, which is Ahar, diet, Vihar, lifestyle, Achar, that is conduct with external world, and Vichar, which is the mental health. So if all of these 4 aspects are healthy, a person can have a successful high immunity and a successful life. Now, plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole cereals, pulses, millets, nuts, oil seeds and healthy fats are good. They help to support our immune system and reduce inflammation in the body. So, sugar sweetened beverages should be avoided by all means. Now, the next is the various protocol that has come up. Under this, Ashwagandha and Ayush 64 are the 2 herbs that the 2 compositions formulations that have been given by the Ayush Ministry for treatment of COVID-19. Chyawanprash has been believed to be effective in the post-recovery phase. Ayush Samved is one of the largest public awareness campaign which has brought in Ayurvedic solutions to fight the COVID-19. Feeding India app focuses on donation of the food for the needy, and through this app more than 4,500 volunteers have come together. It operates in 45 cities in India and has served more than 4.8 million meals across India. Biofortification is another good way. The next, as we said, is mental health. So mental health could lead to lack of appetite, anorexia. Then we have Anxiety, depression, reduced sleep, insomnia are some of the signs of mental illnesses. So all those needs to be checked immediately. And also we have a Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga, which has been working for promoting yoga and promoting mental health across India. Now the UN action on nutrition and the 2030 sustainable development goals focuses on improving diet, reducing malnutrition by all forms, reducing the deaths due to disability of non-communicable diseases, and improving or promoting a sustainable lifestyle. The next is employment growth through innovation. As we said, India is the youngest country with 64% of the population lying in the working age group, and of which 31% lies only in the age group of 18 to 35 years, which is the most productive time for starting any innovative entrepreneurship. So according to Indian Staffing Federation, the future that we see as of now is 3 million new jobs in IT, and Indian Army for technology can reach up to 7 million by 2023. The new age jobs would be related to Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, big data analytics, augmented reality, and data sciences. So those would be some of the most popular forms. India has been doing very well with mobile learning and providing accessible quality education to huge population across India. Telecom Skill Sector Council has predicted that there can be 14 million new jobs in the next decade, which could be related to automation and technology. As we said, automation has seen not only the way in our daily life, but also in the automobile sector, where we are focusing on self-driving cars. India has the first biotech startup, which was Biocon, and this was started in a garage with just 3 employees. Later on, with entrepreneurship and innovation, this turned out to be a biopharma giant, and now meets demand through various portals, and has more than 12,000 direct jobs and many subsidiary indirect jobs that have been created. Infosys has created jobs for more than 12 million indirect jobs that can be created because of the IT sector. So definitely there has been a significant boom and a jump in the IT sector and the IT job recently. Now what has been the scenario for research and development? We have been setting up incubation centers for higher learning, nurture technology entrepreneurship development, which have been focusing on exploiting the commercial technologies, product oriented techniques, and packaging and research for commercialization has been important. So under this we have Prayas scheme, which is promoting and accelerating young and aspiring innovators program. This has been initiated under Nidhi program, as we have discussed, and here technology business incubators would be supported through the Prayas scheme. Under this, the grants would be given for proof of concept and developing the prototypes. Once the prototype is ready, industrial tie-ups can be done, and there have been various amount of grants that would be given for an individual scholar and the operational cost that the Prayas would bear. Similarly, besides all this, we have faced significant barriers to innovation in the country. First is lack of skill deficiency, sometimes excessive government regulations, inability to move into a fast, advanced, consistent system of development, sometimes insufficient business pressure, lack of knowledge, lack of funding, cross social cultural issues, improper research and development, and long time taken for a patent or a innovation to actually reach the market. So there has to be a escalation, both in terms of capital escalation and the speed through which the actual innovation can reach the ground. So those are some of the barriers or the hindrances that needs to be broken in order to bring in better and faster innovation techniques. Now, as we said, automation is anticipated to execute 40% of the jobs across the world in the coming years, and this is one of the reports that has been laid down by International Labour Organization. So definitely higher skilled jobs become important. Now moving on to the allied sector, government has been focusing on agriculture. Agriculture and allied sector have been some of the breakthrough developments where we have witnessed. So first is under agriculture, per drop more crop. So good quality seeds with low irrigation, how better cropping systems can be done, how to reduce post harvest loss after the harvest is done, how the losses can be reduced, how value addition in the food processing industry can be brought, rather than selling mangoes, selling pickles which have a longer shelf life. Creating a national farm market where all kind of farmers can have a single portal to sell their produce without any intermediaries, and this could give them better prices. Creating a new crop insurance scheme and promoting ancillary activities among farmers. This could be in the form of beekeeping, poultry, in the coastal areas it could be in the form of fishing. Horticulture, as we have seen, has increased in last 1 decade by nearly 4 tons per hectare. So production of horticulture has increased. India is one of the leading producers in terms of spices, coconut, cashew nut. Also in terms of food crops, we have kiwi, kinu, date palm, oil palm as some of the most important commercial cultivations for the world. India's food processing industry has 32% of the total market of all the food products and ranks 5th in terms of production, consumption and export. Gourmet food market has increased significantly in terms of value because of the exports. Also in terms of fish production, we have seen that we have been second largest in aquaculture and 4th largest fish exporting nation. In terms of silk production, we have only silk as 0.2% of the total textile industry, but India ranks 2nd in terms of the raw silk production in the world. Some of the schemes which has come up are, first is for the fishes. So Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, it focuses on production and export of fisheries with the aim of doubling the farmers income 2022. So 42% of the investment has been already taken into place, and the idea is to enhance the fish production by more than 70 lakh tons by 2024-25 and increasing the fish exports to 1 lakh crore of rupees. Similarly, we have the Silk Samragya scheme, which is an integrated scheme for silk development, which is a central scheme, and it aims at improving the quality and productivity and helping the downtrodden poor families to earn. So it is under 4 components. First is research and development, organizations for seed, coordination and quality certification. So most of the northeast areas have 38 sericulture projects being implemented. We have automatic reeling machines which have been established for 3A and 4A grade silk. Similarly, the custom duties of 10% and 20% on raw silk and silk imports have been brought to stabilize the domestic silk market. Coming on to the next scheme for the poultry, we have the Rashtriya Gokul Mission, which was started in 2014. It aims at conserving the indigenous bovine breeds and upgrading their genetic component with better milk production. So breed improvement, higher milk production, upgrading to nondescript cattle variety, and having a disease-free genetic built-up can be seen. So eGopal app is one of the online digital medium through which farmers can choose and go for better quality livestock and any freedom from the middlemen involved. National Animal Disease Control Program focuses on 100% vaccination of cattle, buffalo, sheep, goats, and nearly 53 crore animals have been part of it. The next is Kisan Sampada Yojana. The main idea is preserving the existing food processing units and bringing in more coverage with reducing of the post-harvest losses. So we have integrated mega food parks, integrated cold chain, value addition infrastructure, forward and backward linkages, and more refined in terms of food safety and quality assurance that can be done. Similarly, integrated mission for horticulture, which is a centrally sponsored scheme, is important, and it contributes to 60% of the total outlay of the government projects. It talks about National Horticulture Board, Coconut Development Program, the developmental agencies related to various horticulture schemes. The next is focusing youth and women for empowerment. Now, historically, if we see, steam engines, aeroplanes, railway lines, diesel lines have been brought into existence. Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, which is a book on economics by Adam Smith, the father of modern economics, says that innovation is the wheel of economic growth. So he focused on economic growth with which is a result of proportional increase in capital and labor. Later on, Solow, who was another professor in economics, changed the concept and brought into technological change. So he said the key to productivity for labor and capital is technology. So higher economic growth can be achieved through technology. Later, Professor Romer brought in the concept of research and development and human capital as the main basis behind technological change. So technological innovation can be driven only through improved research and development and better human capital with more skilled capital. If we focus on the Global Innovation Index reports, India is, in terms of technological outputs, 27th, market sophistication 31st in rank. However, in infrastructure we are far behind with 75th position, but we have been very high in terms of the overall structure, where we say in terms of quality of publication we are 21st internationally, the quality of university 22nd internationally. Some of the top 3 universities are IIT Bombay, Delhi and Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. We have around 6 of the most top 10 entrepreneurial cities across the world which are located in India. 10% of the country, only 10 countries account for 80% of the spending. However, India, in terms of spending to research and development, has a very low stake with only 0.7% contribution. However, this contribution is very, very high for countries like Germany, United States and China. We have seen that 56% of the total spending is being done by government and only 37% is being done by private. So the share of private investments in research and development is significantly low in India. Also, there have been ideas for equal participation of women force. This percentage and proportion has been significantly low in India, as we have already previously discussed. So under the Global Gender Gap Index 2021, India is on a very low rank of 140 out of 156 nations, and in terms of economic parameters we are further worse at 151. Even the countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan and Sri Lanka are ahead of us. So definitely we need to improve in terms of gender gap, in terms of economic participation and opportunity parameters. The next is 2010 to 2020 was declared as the decade of innovation. So National Innovation Foundation, NIF, was established under the Department of Science and Technology to focus on the frugal technologies or the Jugaad technologies, as we mentioned. India has so far published 2 ideas of India Innovation Index, the latest being in 2020, which ranks the various states and union territories based on the Innovation Index. Coming on to the rural areas in India, ICAR, which is the Indian Council for Agricultural Research, has been setting up a farmer innovation fund with innovation centers across India. Those should be merged into India's village economy. Also, a startup initiative as a part of the Government of India has been established with more than 5,600 agricultural startups in India. We have Indian Agricultural Platform, which has been created by the government with an idea of providing data and service applications to help bring in technical stake. So various concepts like government's ENAM scheme, which is the Electronic National Agricultural Marketplace, the ITC's eChaupal, where electronic digital deals can be done, and then we have the EPIDA and the TraceNet. All of those issues related to logistics, agriculture, supply chain have been brought into a common stake. So those were some of the highlights that we have discussed for Kurukshetra May edition. Next month we would be meeting again with the summaries for Yojana and Kurukshetra. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. See you again.